Good YouTube, Cardfight King here, Aqua Life baby, you already know how it is. So for this video, I wanted to actually continue talking about Maelstrom in a sense. And so the other day, the last video I made was me just talking about, I guess, what am I going to be doing for V Series? Am I going to be, I'm taking a little. Not really, I'm just not going to pick up anything until V Series comes, until for Aquaforce V Series comes out, and I'm done with premium and things of that nature. Really, that was just a part of my reaction to the reveal of the artwork, more or less, for Maelstrom and the information, whatever little information we got on the Aquaforce trial deck, which is going to be featuring Algos as the cover card, so to speak. Now, I did get an interesting comment saying that, we don't know, Algos might be a grade 2 and still whatnot. We don't know if he's a grade 3, and that does have truth to it. But from my experience, from what I've seen playing this game, longest time, if it's not a blaster like Blaster Dark or Blaster Blade, usually the cover card or the featured card is a grade 3 unit. And so far I'm going based upon just historical context that if it's not Blaster Dark or Blaster Blade, then the feature card or cover card for the clan is more likely not going to be a grade 3 or higher. Higher being Stride era, but grade 3 being other eras. So as just to represent what the leader is, this is the feature card, this is the leader, so to speak. Now, what I wanted to actually talk about today was the old school style of Maelstrom, and it just more or less reminiscing, but also could liaison into what we could be expecting for the V series when that drops for us, at least for Aquaforce. So back in 2013, when Aquaforce started out and whatnot, the trial deck dropped. One of the things that basically the general consensus, the general strategy with the deck was to poke, then your Vanguard was the last attack, the big wave. It's like little wave, fourth battle, third battle, whatever, big wave. And then anything after that, you generally just relied on hitting a stand trigger, or if by some chance you had another card ready to battle for you, which generally wasn't the case. It's usually Maelstrom was generally always your last attack. You had that, but the deck made really good usage of the stand triggers. So literally the whole strategy was, but going deeper into the poke, and big push strategy. The basic strategy was to eat away at your opponent's hands, and that's something that I've stuck with throughout my career playing Aquaforce. I've tried to apply some of that to where we are in the game, even to this point now. Though there are decks like against Nubatama and Gize and such where you just need to go face as often as possible. But what I initially aimed for was attacking the opponent's hand indirectly, which means that your opponent's going to set up rear guards on the board. You're going to have a rear guard in the front, rear guard there. Now the old school style, our attacks were generally led off with a unit named Basil. He's a grade 2 10k. Or grade 2 8k, excuse me, who when he attacks when he attacks an opponent's Vanguard and it's the first battle of that turn, he gets 2,000 power, so he hit 10k. So he was more or less designed to strike at 10k Vanguards first. Then after the battle, he'll switch positions with the card behind him. So that type of style. Then the same thing with the grade 3 Diamantes. That style of play was just a poke and then moved to that self-protection method. Basil was really good for early game rushes, but he did kind of get phased out because once Alpha Force dropped, that's when they were kind of transitioning into making, your base 11k Vanguards. But for a good period of time, Basil was still such it was a triple rare. It was pretty expensive, like I think $20 plus at one point. And I'll never forget when I only had one Maelstrom and one Basil. So dreadful. I always damage checked them. It was so, oh god, so bad. But so that's basically what it was. And then you had your other attacks that followed up. So you would have, like, let's say maybe another grade 3 attack if you're in attack Vanguard, or you have like your 10k vanillas to attack. You had other units. I can't remember his name for the life of me, but he was an 8k grade 2 that swung for 11k. I think it was the third battle of the turn or more, but it was something like that. But you'd usually have like a 9k behind him or 11k or something, and that card is used to attack your opponent's rear guards. And the reason why I felt as if you wanted to attack your opponent's rear guards, unless you were going for game, in that scenario, you attack your opponent's rigger. So, like, if they have like an intercept unit on the board, attack their intercept unit, more or less because you're trying to see, well, if they're going to if I attack the Vanguard, they're going to intercept it anyways. If this attack is not going to hit the Vanguard, like if you didn't have your 10k vanilla on, your opponent's on 11k Vanguard or something like that, it's not going to hit, you're going to attack the rear guard anyways. But how much do they want to give up from their hand to protect that rear guard? That's what I was kind of going for. So I would swing on the rear guard, and then if they're, somebody, like if they use their one other rear guard to intercept and protect that one, that means that they have that rear guard does have some value to it. So then you can take your other rear guard, swing at that one again, and see what you poke out of their hand. Or they're going to just drop cards out their hand to protect that one rear guard. And then you swing on their Vanguard. You swing on their Vanguard with, a much bigger attack. And after that, when you swing, if Maelstrom hit, you get to draw one, kill one. If he didn't hit, oh well, but you still got at least 2 cards out of your opponent's hand, so to speak. But overall, during the turn, you got an intercept. You may have gotten a grade 2 off the board. Maybe your third attack was a boosted column swinging for 16, so your opponent dropped a 10k shield in your hand. So at that point, you started counting how many cards is coming out of my opponent's hand, and then how much total shield value did I get out of my opponent's hand. So, those were the things that you generally would take into consideration when you're playing Maelstrom. And then if you hit a stand trigger, that's even better, especially if you stood a unit like Valeria or Algos, so to speak, or even your grade 3. You stand Valeria and you swing at the Vanguard with Valeria. Well, it's now like, well, are you going to use that intercept unit to block to intercept and block, or are you going to give up another card from your hand, so to speak? Those are generally the things that, that's why you want units that actually kind of did something to a degree. Now, the 10k vanillas back in those days were actually pretty good. Now, not really so much. So that's pretty much what Vanguard was in a way. It was kind of it was definitely more simplified. Some people say, oh yeah, for like for Maelstrom you had to be at limit break to do anything. You had to be at limit break for a lot of things, blah blah. And I was like, well, in that sense, I felt as if limit break did bring some more strategy to the game, so to speak. Being at 4 damage was nice because your limit break was online, but that means that you were a critical trigger away from death. That means that if you can't handle a rush from a certain turn, then you were close, as close to death as you possibly can get. For me personally, I like to stay around that 2 to 3 damage range, even if my Vanguard's ability wasn't going off. The point was that I was still getting a decent amount of attacks off. So, you could swing with Basil, swing with the unit behind Basil, swing with Vanguard, and then you have Valeria, Algos, in a boosted column. Valeria or Algos in a boosted column, and that boosted column will receive the trigger benefits. If you hit a stand trigger, great. Give the power to the one of the rear guards, the one in the battle column that was rest, stand it and give it power. Or just stand it, give power to Valeria, and then have Valeria swing, and then maybe that swing. So it depends on what strategy and what you think you're going to get out of the turn. But if you if you swing with Valeria, Algos in the 4th battle, Valeria is going to pop a card, Algos is going to draw your card, depending on your preference. I love Valeria. I went for more I went for more of a control method, for more destruction to their field and forcing cards out of my opponent's hand. That's what really worked out for me. Some people chose Algos over that, but I just love Valeria's ability to snipe cards out of the backfield, especially since we couldn't hit any back row. I felt like Valeria was really important in that role. So, you know, with this new series coming out, I think that and with stand triggers more or less, you know, going away, I think we're still going to keep our battle requirement, but we might see a reduction possibly in the amount of battles required to achieve a certain thing. I'm pretty sure Maelstrom is still going to be the last attack of the turn, but they might alter his skill a bit, maybe give us another attack after he battles, something like something like Lambros does, but definitely not to the degree that he did it in, or Alexandra, so to speak. Definitely not to that degree, but something more balanced, or, you know, stick with the Maelstrom and pop one, draw one, something like that. But it's going to be really interesting to see what they're going to do, especially with the way they're presenting Algos. I just assume that, you know, since Leon is a kid again, and they're going to be introducing him a lot earlier than they would have been in the old show. We're going to see Leon in a bit of a new light. We're going to be seeing units in different places. You know, grade 2s become 3s, and new ones, new 2s. Obviously, they're going to be reprinting alternate artworks, so to speak, in different of older Aquaforce units. You know, for that nostalgia factor, I see that they're bringing back like Vanguard boosters and things like, if this boosts a Vanguard, then you get such and such ability. So it's definitely a huge nostalgia trip, I'm going to think, with some more with some new spice to it, so to speak. So it's going to be interesting to see what we're going to get. I'm really interested to see how we're going to be working with the the front triggers. I know that's something that we're definitely going to work with. I would definitely want to see how we're going to be using that Excel marker, and just the overall style of Maelstrom. I really feel like since stand triggers has been phased out of the game, or have been, you know, removed from the game, how are they going to go about that? If we're going back to the old days again, I'm thinking old school Maelstrom, and we're running stand triggers and things like that. Since we're going back to the old days, but in a rewritten form, in a new light, how are we going to use front triggers, and how is our attack patterns going to be? So those are basically my questions going in. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and yeah, I'll see you guys next video. School's almost over, so, you know, it is what it is. Alright, Cardfight King, I'm out. Peace.